And next, I would like to welcome Wang from the SCSP to host the next session. Thank you very much.
Thanks. We've made it to the last session of the summit. But it's a great one because we have joining with us from Kyiv, the Deputy Minister for Digital Transformation. Valeriya, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
So jumping right in, so I know this is the last session, and everyone is excited to really get to lunch and then also continue to talk to each other about everything over the past day and a half. So first, we know that the war really has affected every aspect of life in Ukraine. Your ministry is trying to make Ukraine the most digital state in the world. And one of the ways that Ukraine is pushing back against the Russian war, and also one of the ways that Ukraine is being a vibrant democracy really is the work that your ministry is doing. Can you tell us a little bit about the DIA app, the DIA app, that is one of the ways that you're connecting with your people on maintaining democracy in Ukraine?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for this question. So basically, we have created not just application, but the national ecosystem of digital projects, which is called DIA, which means action. And one of the core products of this ecosystem is basically DIA application, which is used by 19 million of Ukrainians, which is half of the population of Ukraine. So DIA application basically consists of three main parts: digital documents, digital services, and digital signature. You know that Ukraine is the first country in the world where digital passports are totally equivalent to paper or plastic ones. So now we have 14 digital documents in the application. We have more than 40 services in the app available. So we pay taxes, we pay fines through DIA, and of course we have digital signature. When the war started last year, the 24th of February, we had to shift our strategy when it comes to launching new services in DIA, and we had to react fast on what was happening, and we basically monitored the demand, and we have created a bunch of new services, and I will give you just a couple of examples. So in the very beginning, when Russian missiles started to hit the residential buildings, a lot of people went to the shelters, and we understood that there was no option for them to receive the information on what's going on. So that's why we basically embedded TV and radio into the application to give our citizens the access 24/7 to truthful news. Later on, we have launched a possibility to obtain the IDP status and social financial assistance. IDP means internally displaced people. Also, we have launched a possibility to report on damaged or destroyed property, the possibility to buy war bonds just in 2 clicks, the possibility to donate to the army, as well as we have developed a separate chatbot, which is called e-enemy, with authorization through DIA, which helps our citizens to inform armed forces of Ukraine about the dislocation of Russian troops and Russian equipment, and we received 500,000 requests only for the last year through this chatbot. So now we continue to develop the application in Ukraine. We are working on transforming it and making it a real state super app. So this year we plan also to add there such directions as education, business, and others.
That's really just incredible, and I think one of the things that we've talked about over the past day and a half really is just all the things that are happening in Ukraine that you and your government are doing to make sure that Ukraine wins. Can we shift a little bit to the military conflict, and can you talk a little bit about, you talked a little bit about how citizens can use DIA to report what they see in terms of military movements by the Russian side. Can you talk a little bit about what other innovations that Ukraine really is producing to support what you guys are doing on the military battlefield?
Yes, well, it's important to understand that we are fighting the war that is completely different from anything that came before it. This war against a powerful enemy is probably the most technologically advanced war in human history, and it's also the war in real time. And what's very important is that technology not only helps us on the battlefield, but it also saves lives, keep loved ones connected, and allows our economy to work. So speaking about tech, I can name a lot of things, but probably I would focus on the three main things. It's AI, drones, and cybersecurity. So first of all, speaking about AI, we use it to identify Russian soldiers who are not just looters, rapists, but are real killers and war criminals. AI tools make it possible to find all of them, no matter where they're hiding from justice. We also have developed our own IT solutions based on AI, which help us a lot on the battlefield. Then everything that we have seen in science fiction movies become reality. This war is also the war of machines, and the more advanced and stable your machines are, the faster you transform and improve them, the more chances you have to succeed. That's why drones play a huge role in this war. So in order to help the armed forces of Ukraine, we have launched the Army of Drones project. And thousands of drones have been purchased, received as donations, or even invented. And our work in this field continues. We also have a great volunteer movement, which is called IT Army, which helps us on the cybersecurity front. And of course, the connection is super important.
Thanks so much for that. I mean, you talked a little bit about how non-government partners are working with your government to support the war effort. Can you talk a little bit more about how the Ukrainian private sector really is contributing to the cross-societal digital transformation that's happening in Ukraine? You know, so how are other Ukrainian companies? Can you give examples of Ukrainian companies that are developing technologies that are helping both on the civilian side and on the military side to help you guys fight back against the Russians?
Of course, I would say that our ministry is working with the private sector companies from the very beginning, from 2019. So we really have a lot of different great and efficient projects which were developed together with the private sector companies in partnership or with the support of them. But speaking about the wartime, I can give you a number of examples. Let's say the air alarm application. This is a separate and special application that was launched just in the probably first 2 weeks of the full-scale Russian invasion to Ukraine. So this application informs the user about the start and the end of the air alarm in the area that user himself choose in the application. And this application sends critical alerts as loud as possible about the defense system, air, chemical, artificial, or other types of alarms, even when the smartphone is on a silent or in a sleep mode. And this is probably one of the, I would say, brightest examples of such cooperation when it comes to the civilian defense.
Yeah, and again, I think it just shows kind of like the difference in terms of how your government versus the Russian government is approaching this conflict, right? Where your side obviously is prioritizing civilian life and preserving life. Moving on, so can we talk a little bit about the role of international cooperation and how allies and partners are supporting your work and the innovations that you guys are working on?
Of course, we have we have a lot of partners among the governments of the whole world and European Union, and of course from the private sector. We have, I would probably like to mention two big projects, two big initiatives. The first one is United 24 initiative, which is the official fundraising platform that has been created under the patronage of the president. So this is the big initiative which helps us to receive support and donations for fast rebuilding and long-term rebuilding of Ukraine. We have also launched a Brave One cluster. One of our goals is to create the fast track for innovations in the field of defense and security. That's why we created this Brave One, a united coordinational platform to promote collaboration between all stakeholders of the defense tech industry by providing them with organizational, informational, and financial support for defense tech projects in Ukraine. So basically, all of the initiatives which we are creating, we are doing it with the support of international partners.
What do you need now? You know, we talked a little bit yesterday about kind of the military support that Ukraine really needs, but you know, beyond F-16s, beyond tanks, what can partners around the world kind of help you and your ministry on as you guys look at how technology and innovation can continue to support the war effort?
Well, first of all, we thank you all for your support and standing with Ukraine, and we really hope for your continuous support until our mutual victory. We really need innovative solutions which can help us in defense tech, in rebuilding. Now, Ukraine is one of the best test grounds for any kind of innovations and technology. We are actively working on the national innovation strategy right now, and we are ready to explore a variety of opportunities when it comes to creating mutual R&D centers and launching projects which aim at to help in developing defense tech, but also to tackle global challenges such as climate change, agri-tech, immersive technologies, ed-tech, military tech, smart cities, and others. Of course, doing business with Ukraine, investing in Ukrainian IT companies, startups, or opening a business in Ukraine, because our country is a great IT hub in the heart of Europe with many intelligent and talented people. And now it's really the perfect time to start thinking about it. And last but not the least, it is vital to stop any business activities with the Russian market. So responsible companies worldwide supported the so-called tech blockade and imposed corporate sanctions. And companies that don't join should review their approaches, as working with Russia means direct support of the terrorist state.
And you talked a little bit about how, just how transformational and how innovative your country is just today in terms of managing the conflict. What lessons do you want the rest of the world, other democracies, to really take from what your ministry is doing, what Ukraine is doing to support democracy as it is, and again, really just kind of the tech and innovation connection to some of the ways that your government is providing for your people, and just this idea of how technology can really support and promote democracy?
Well, you've mentioned in the very beginning that you've mentioned about our vision. Our vision is to build the most convenient digital state in the world, without corruption, without bureaucracy, and absolutely paperless. But also we believe that the less government people have in their lives, the better. And that is our vision. So everything what we do, all our goals, all our products, they are directly connected to this vision. So when we start to create something, we always try to understand, does it correlate with the big vision that we have? And I think one of the first lessons would be this big vision. It's not a strategy, not the goals, but the real vision, where we want to come in 5, 10, 15, or 20 years. And it may sound obvious, but a lot of governments still do not have this vision. The second lesson, probably the user-centric approach in everything what you are doing. So there is absolutely no sense in digitizing services when you have the same application form with 40, 60, or 80 questions, which is completely unfriendly and not convenient for the user. So you always have to think about the citizen first. No sense to digitize bureaucracy, no sense to digitize chaos. You have to re-engineer all of the processes when it comes to digital transformation. Of course, the good speed is very important. And I think what we have achieved in 3 years, it's of course just the beginning, but because we were able to have this speed during all of this time, we basically have the result which we have now. And of course, listening especially to the previous panel, I think that the balance between regulations and innovations is super important. And I think that we all have to pay more attention to this.
Yeah, no, it's just really, again, I think, just everything that you and your government are doing, facing an all-out war, but then also finding ways to innovate and finding ways to continue to support your people really is just a model for a lot of other countries as we think about how, just kind of what the next steps are for democracy in the world. I think just any last words that you want to give the audience here as we kind of wrap up the day and a half of the Copenhagen Democracy Summit?
all, I would like to take this opportunity to once more thank you all for standing with Ukraine and for supporting with Ukraine. We are very open for any kind of ideas and mutual projects. So please reach out to us and let's build the bright digital future together. Thank you.
Valeriya, thanks so much for your time. Hopefully we'll see you here next year. Slava Ukraini.
Thank you so much. Героям слава.